Yeah, hello, good evening. Welcome to Focal Point this evening. Today we'll be talking about a trending issue. That is the issue that has to do with the SAS, Special Anti-Robbery Squad. Yesterday, the Inspector General of Police succumbed to pressure and calls to end one of Nigeria's most dreaded special squad. That is the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SAS, after protesters hit major streets of major state capitals, Lagos and stuff. Now, with the end SAS slogan, consequent upon which it disbanded the Special Anti-Robbery Squad with immediate effect. Now that SAS has been disbanded, what next for the Nigeria Police Force? What are we to expect following this disbandment? And to do justice to these very salient questions this evening, um, is somebody or persons you know very well, Petra Akinti Onyegule and Boloji Mohammed Mekudi. Let me just bring them live.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you.
Yeah.
Mr. Boloji, can you hear me? The activities of the members of this team, the squad, SAS, leading to the eventual disbandment. What do you know about them? What do you think about them?
Oh, well, I think that the calls had been long coming. People have been making these calls for NSAS since 2017, and that's on the backdrop of the intimidation and the culture of impunity that they have become known for, and especially in the southern part of the country, because sometimes people recount their experiences and you hear that, oh, this doesn't really happen in the north. Perhaps, but you see, especially in a place like Lagos, harassment, beating, sometimes shooting and killing of young people once who have been profiled. You have a tattoo, you have dreadlocks, you carry a laptop, you drive certain kinds of cars, and automatically you must be a criminal who should be dealt with. And so, for that reason, people got so tired because Nigerian youth are some of the enterprising youth in the whole world. And so, to see their enterprise and their spirit of resilience being called to question and interpreted to me, those dressings, dreadlock, tattoo, they are just part of pop culture. And so, how it now ended up being translated as the looks of criminals is what most of us cannot understand. And of course, because of the calls for redemption, so to speak, the hashtag NSAS was born by young people who were feeling the brunt of the activities of SARS. And these activities just they spawn from a mentality of impunity. And you hear them in statements such as, I will waste you and nothing will happen. I will waste you and say you are a criminal. I'll kill you right now and nobody will know where you are. So when this kind of mentality that has taken root so deeply propels people to make such statements, where you now have young people, citizens, free citizens of the country, saying that they prefer to actually run into armed robbers than run into men of a police force, of a unit of the police force of their own country, then you know that there is a big problem. That problem is not just one that needed to be solved, it's something that needed urgent, attention. And I may not have agreed with whether NSAS or reform SARS because I have my own opinion on what should the reform that should take place. But it's a good call. It's a good call, a great call, and not just the call, they've actually taken action and seen that they are seeing results.
And now, Bologi, what do you have you had any experiences with the team, Federal SARS? Boloji Bekudi, I'm talking to you. Are you there? All right, before it comes back, we have live also Tokumbo Olodami from the United Kingdom. Mr. Talks, good evening.
Thank you very much.
So can you comment on the activities of SARS leading to the eventual disbandment?
It's not any different from what Petra has been saying. Nigerians are tired. Nigerians have become the object of ridicule from the activities of SARS. They become very notorious. They're actually becoming almost like a gang of robbers in police uniform, you know, harassing people. I've had an indirect encounter with them. My brother, who works in the bank, attended a meeting in Lagos and decided to quickly get to the ATM so he can beat traffic to get to the airport. And they just mobbed him and asked, how did he buy that phone? Blah, blah, blah. You know, they made him withdraw 60 grand, the price of the phone, to give to them so they can return the phone to him. Who does that? This is policing we're talking about, you know. So generally speaking, you look at the attitudes to policing. One of the key things that really falls into a very bad side of reasoning for me is the way they dress, their outlook. You see, body language is key in policing. When you're approaching a person, you are either de-escalating the situation with your body language or aggravating the situation with your body language. Many of them dress as if they're falling out of some kind of India hemp smoking den and with guns. Their mannerism, their outlook is dangerous. So nobody wants to have any dealing with them. When you see them on the road, you are guessing between, are these robbers or policemen? It's hard to ID them. So their activities, I think it's just falling out of taste, and the time for it to end has come. I wouldn't quickly say, oh, this is victory yet, because you cannot isolate SARS from the entire systemic rot. You can't isolate, you know, who recruited them? What were the trainings they got before they were recruited? Who armed them? Who do they make returns to? Who oversees their activities? What kind of pressure between 2017 and 2020? The kind of pressure and mannerism and pursuit for making money. It is so intense by these SARS officials that you will know that there's some sort of institutional backing for that. Disbanding SARS is not enough. Find all the SARS commanders, check their income and outflow of funds, see if they are living above their means, prosecute them for that. Then we know you're serious about it.
All right, Mr. Tokes. All right, Mr. Tokes. Now, Bologi, can you hear me? Bologi Mekudi, can you hear me? Now, Madam Petra, let me get to you while we try to connect to Bologi. A lot of bad eggs, you know, because like Tokes rightly said, when you encounter them, you are like, are these ones robbers or are these ones, you don't really know which is which. Now, a lot of bad eggs have been moved back into the conventional police force. A lot of bad eggs, because with the disbandment of SARS, they are, of course, redeployed to the conventional police force. What do you think should be the next policy for Nigeria Police Force? What should be the next step now? Having disbanded them? Yes. Over to you, Madam Petra.
All right. My own advocacy has always been that we need to look at this with the eye of sustainability. It's not just enough to disband SARS. Okay, you disband them, and it's not like you can't sack them, that's for sure, because such kind of people who are notorious and they had gotten the moniker of armed robbers in police uniform, you know, they've gotten that tag. If you push them into the wider society, then it's that you are unleashing terror on the citizenry. Having said that, they are back into, you know, the system, which has been my concern all along. They are back into the system. They've been disbanded, but even today, 2 people have been killed. 2 protesters have been reportedly killed in Surulere area of Lagos State. That was not the activity of SARS. That was the activity of regular police. And so this mentality that has become a culture of impunity within the police, is not something that has been restricted to SARS. So when we are talking about reforms, the reforms have to do with not SARS. I don't think SARS can be reformed, which was why, I mean, they were disbanded anyway. But we go beyond disbanding them. We don't want them in just another acronym, you know, with another kind of uniform, and they are unleashed back into the society. Or do we want still this same police, you know, with this same mentality? There needs to be some sort of retraining of the mind, retraining of the, you know, the psyche. There has to be some recalibration that makes police see that they are not oppressors of the citizens, that citizens are not their enemies. And then we now go back to the roots. Why do police people see citizens as their enemies anyway? Because how bullying works is that the bully goes for the weaker, whoever they think is the weaker person. So a bully would leave even the person who oppresses him, who is supposed to be responsible for making his life better, and target the person that he can now revisit with his own oppression and take out his own frustration on that weaker person. So we need to talk about the welfare of the police officer. You see, the Nigerian police has been so stripped of dignity that there's no dignity. Their welfare is nothing to write home about. They are frustrated. Some of them, I mean, it's not restricted to the police, but the system and the environment in which they find themselves has made it so bad that you suspect some of them of having some mental imbalance. Some of them abuse substances. And then you throw these people on the street or on the road and say that they should police a civil populace in the 21st century. We need to realize that the police we still have has the mentality of the colonial days. And so we must now reform the police to meet with the problems of the 21st century digital society, meaning that their welfare is paramount, meaning their training and retraining is, you know, not contestable, is not something that can be negotiated, meaning that when I talk about welfare, we are talking about total health coverage for them and their families. We are talking about good access to education for their children. We are talking about a decent roof over their heads. At least if government can take care of these fundamental issues, then perhaps we can begin to say, oh, this is what is expected of the police. You don't throw people into the streets and say that you pay them 20,000 naira or 25,000 or even 50,000 naira, and you say they should not collect bribes. The police has been turned into a money-making institution. The police is not supposed to generate revenue. It is not a revenue-generating institution. So when the police have to generate revenue for their own writing material, they have to generate revenue to buy fuel for their moribund vehicles that, you know, you are looking at the vehicles and you feel so much pity for them, no respect whatsoever. When the police have to generate money to give returns to a higher authority, like Tokunbo has said, those are fundamental issues that unless we address, it doesn't matter the name we give to the new unit, these issues are going to continue, and we are going to continue going round in cycles. So in order for us not to go round in cycles, the IGP has released the 5 points that he said will be the core points of the reforms. Okay, SARS has been disbanded, a new unit is going to, you know, be formed. There is going to be prosecution of people who have been, you know, who are found wanting. But again, we need to ask and be sure that we are not just paying lip service to this reform. You said there will be prosecution. With the anonymity, which is the #1 power that SARS had and enjoyed over time, how do we know who was who and who did what? So who are you going to prosecute? We need to start from there so that we are not, this is a fight that has begun and people are already paying with their life. May God rest their souls and comfort their families. We must ensure that we get results that is not just worth the sacrifices that people have made, but that is sustainable. And of course, on our part, citizens must continue to engage and be very vigilant and be interested and be sure that they are on top of the issues and the promises and hold governments to account and to their word.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Petra. Bologi, can you hear me? Seems you're having a bit difficulty connecting. Hello, Bologi, can you hear me? I think Bologi is having a bit of difficulty connecting to us. Bologi, can you hear me? All right, Talks, let me take you on this. Hello, Talks, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, one of the reasons why the SARS was set up in the first place was for them to tackle and crack armed robbery cases. These armed robbers live in our midst. Now, many persons have been agitating for state police to champion community policing. Now, do you agree with those pushing for state police system? If yes, give your reasons. If no, why not?
Yes, you've rightly identified that SARS was meant to be a response force and not one that parades the streets with guns ready to pick on people. That's one of the operational errors they've committed, but that's besides the point. I partially agree and disagree with those clamoring for state policing. You see, we have such institutional weakness place now that if state police were to be enforced with the kind of overarching reach in power relations that some of the state governors have displayed in recent times, we will just have like killer squads in each state. We are not ready for state policing. That's my personal perspective on this. And the reason for that is because the institutional framework for driving that is not yet in place. And if you place that kind of powers in the hands of executive governors of states, they'll be issuing executive fiats to get people taken away, assassinated, and just people will just go missing. Elections will basically be walkovers for them. I mean, we've seen what's happened in our own state, in Kogi State, in recent times. And other states, except there are higher forces to balance power, like the federal government. We will not be able to say police at state level should be enforced. However, community policing is a global phenomenon. Even where I live, sometimes for issues of two fighting, it's not all cases that policemen just jump at that coming. Community officers come and they take notes, they listen to you. So that sort of community policing without arms and just alternative conflict resolution channels can become part of the state system. Not arms carrying and people who are braggadociously in commando style looking for criminals and all that. It's abuse of power. It's abuse of the psychic to see people jumping. And Petra has rightly identified there are some historical data that is playing out in all of this. It's not just the colonization of our shores, also the military regimes that we've seen. Small forces, even prison, everybody wants to carry gun. Road safety, want to carry gun. What's it with guns? Everybody wants to carry that military sense and sense of power. You meet some gatesmen, the way they will harass you just because you're trying to get into a bank or some building, you will be shocked, like, what's going on here? So we need a general systemic review of how we see and use the uniform. So that's what I don't think we're ready for state policing, but we can have some form of policing at community level.
All right, Mr. Tok, I want to just play a video because the president just spoke this afternoon. But right after he spoke, a lot of killings are taking place at Surulere, like Petra. Like he said, I think I have a video here. I'll just hold on. That is somebody being battered by the police. Now, this other video is from Ogbomoso. This video is from Ogbomoso, where persons are being killed, dead bodies being moved away. Now, let's take on the next question. Now, the president just made a speech this afternoon. Right immediately after he made that speech, persons were killed. Yesterday, when the IGP disbanded SARS, just after that, persons were killed at Ogbomoso. Now, the issue is this. I keep wondering, is the IGP in charge of the Nigeria Police Force? Because you have disbanded SARS, but the police brutality still continues. Is the IGP in charge? Should he resign? What's your take, Petra?
Oh, okay. So, like I said, all these things are happening because there is the culture in place, a culture of impunity, a culture of brutality. Impunity simply means I am a law unto myself. I can do whatever I want to do. I am not accountable to anyone. And we have seen it play out. It is why the regular policeman will tell you, either SARS or the normal police people will tell you they will kill you and nothing will happen. And so, human beings all over the world are the same. Human beings everywhere are the same. A human being is a human being. What makes human beings act differently is the fear of an effective sanction system, a reward or punishment system. You do something well, you are rewarded by recognition and accolade. You do something wrongly, and immediately you are paying the fine. It is not the first time that the president will give orders to this same IGP, and he flouts them, at least from what records are in the public domain, and nothing happens. So when you give a human being a mile, and he takes an extra one and you do not correct it, next time he will take several extras. That's what's been happening. And it's not just from president to IGP. That same mentality that makes the ordinary sergeant or the ordinary constable tell you that they can kill you, a human being, with with all your dignity and aspirations and hope that they can end everything and nothing will happen, is the same thing that makes the IGP speak to or say we have disbanded SARS and his own men and go out on the street and begin to kill protesters. It is because nobody has been punished. It's because somebody said, oh, SARS were empowered to kill. Even criminals, SARS ordinarily should not be empowered to kill. Because when you say, oh, you can kill, it is why they now go the extra mile to say, I will kill you and say you were a prisoner. You've already given them an excuse, an already made excuse for which they can act with impunity. So because people have done things and not paid for them, don't forget, one of the benefits of punishment is deterrence. That's one of the value of punishment. When someone is watching and sees what happens to somebody who commits an offense, they take dressing. They know that if they repeat the same thing, then it can happen. I give you a quick example. On Saturday, I was on my way back from Abuja to Lagos, and my flight was a 9 a.m. flight. By the time I got to the airport at 7:30 something, the whole place was like Jugbe Market. And there was the breakdown of control. There was no control, there was no order. And then some of us were trying to be good Nigerians. People were, they would just come and shunt the queue. And we were wondering, waiting for somebody to call them to order. At some point, I had to shunt the queue, because if I did not shunt the queue, then I would miss my flight. And it happened to people. They stood on the line, and by the time they got to, the boarding gate, the flight had been called, the flight had been closed, no more. So when people know that they can flout a rule or a law and go scot-free, they become emboldened, not just them, people who are also watching, bystanders. So because the IGP does not respect the president, obviously. I mean, when you respect somebody, it's not by saying rank adede. It's by ensuring that the commands and the directives of that person, even in the person's absence, are complied with. And because this thing just flows down. He doesn't respect his own boss. His own boys do not also respect him. So we saw how the whole thing has degenerated, and it just speaks to the value system in place. When we need to get our value system back right, such that we know to do the right thing, and we are scared that if we do not do the right thing, that we'll get punished for it. Otherwise, people will continue to break the laws, and we have seen it happen yesterday and today with the issue.
Thank you very much. Now, on the final note, Mr. Tokes, in security delivery, everybody's a stakeholder. What role should the citizen play for effective policing of our community? Tokes.
That's a good question. I was hoping you wouldn't ask me to comment on the same thing that Petra had spoken on, because there's nothing to add to that. She had captured it so well. And citizens. You see, I've taught process reengineering and process improvement for about 5 years now, and I've been thinking about how can we re-engineer the processes to make Nigeria better governed in terms of policing. And I think there's a place for an independent public complaint system, sort of, that is independent from the IG, the government, but handled by the people. For example, there's what we call the watchdogs in many civilized and developed economies. You know, people who on the side, all they do is watch the authorities when they are abusive, when they're excessive in their use of power. They go public with it, and the government is forced to take action. I would say the citizens have done very well in recent times, and with the advent of the social media, you can see that we now seen more. It's not as if these events were not there before, but there's now a platform to make it public. If our the journalists take time to explore issues around policing, for example, go and sit in a divisional police office and see what goes on there. I've spent 2, 3, 4 nights in one, and to me it was just like a bank. They arrest people every night, bring them in, buy money, people come, pay, get them out. The next night, people come in, like that. So the citizens are at the receiving end of some form of a draconian order. As Petra puts it, a higher power bullying a lesser power, until there's an elevation of citizens' complaints, citizens' involvement, citizens' participation, and power relations come to power. We will continue to see this oppressive, repressive policing. So they should, whatever is done, the power relations needs to be balanced up such that the citizens' voice will become louder and clearer when they are making complaints. I've been robbed by policemen before. I visited Nigeria, they arrested me. The next thing I knew, when I called my people to come and get me out, the recharge card in my pockets were gone. That's a policeman, for example. So where am I safe if I cannot be safe in the hands of a police? So, the citizens need to feel, when they see, the perception is key. Look at some of the things that Petra has mentioned. The president's order, the IG's order, the way we perceive it is like there's disorderliness in the chain of command. And perception is key. The first thing I feel when a policeman stops me is, how much does he want now? That perception needs to change. It needs to change. So the citizens need to be elevated to a point where their voice is loud enough, not repressed, not caged, not locked in some form of bureaucratic system where they say, go to this office, go to this place, no. The citizens become powerful enough to make a complaint that is loud, is clear, is visible, and is transparent to all that the police have overstepped their bounds. And it should be clear. Maybe we'll introduce body cams for any tactical unit. As Petra has said, you don't just carry guns and start shooting people until the law has taken its course. You don't just start killing people. You don't do that. So some form of order that gives people that sense of protection. You come and you say, okay, my camera is on. I'm going to engage you now. Already you are de-escalating the issue. You say, I'm approaching you because this is happening. Those kind of training, emotional and civil intelligence is zero. They don't have it. And that has to come up a bit.
Thank you very much, Petra. Thank you very much, Tokunbo, for coming online this evening. I really appreciate you. And I hope that when next we call on you, you will oblige us with your presence. Thank you very much.
All right, then. Thank you.
That's been Petra Akinti and Tokes from the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, Mekudi could not join us, perhaps due to poor network along. Now let me bring Mekudi up. Let me just bring Mekudi up now. Before Mekudi, what's been happening? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So
yes, I can.
What's your comment on the activities of SARS leading to the eventual disbandment?
Sorry, come again.
Can you comment on the activities of this SARS now, leading to its eventual disbandment? Do you have any experience, or do you have relative friends who have nasty experiences with these people?
Yeah. Sorry. Want to apologize for the technical issues. SARS. To 4 Nigerians must have had experiences with this SARS agents. As someone who have stayed in the west, in the southwestern part of the country, possibly places like Ibadan, Lagos, and other region. So you are pro-brutality, police brutality, and so personally, I think I had my experience with SARS even when I was in Kogi State before I left Kogi for Ibadan. The disbandment of SARS has been a recurring issues. It has been resolved in 2016. It has been reorganized in 2017. It has been overhauled in 2018. It has been dissolved in 2020. So the issue of SARS actually is so brutish that all Nigerians of my generation right now want the experiences to stop. It is not about experiences with SARS, about that once a person or a citizen of Nigeria is being unjustly treated, duty to our countrymen. So the issue of SARS and the solution of SARS by the Nigerian police force and a state on a live broadcast by the president is a good step to ending the brutality of SARS. But however, I think the issue of SARS is a peculiar. It's more like a simple unit problem. We need a total reform of the Nigerian police. Police needs to be reformed, needs to be reorganized. Where citizens will see police officers and be proud that these are their police officers. For the disbandment of the SARS, for now, it's a good plus, and we are celebrating the statement and the decision of this force. For further actions to be taken, like judicial inquiry should be set up, committee should be set up to look into issues of brutality of police, and also that all officers of the Nigerian police who happen to be in the SARS unit will have to go for a psychological evaluation, so it could be confirmed. It could be confirmed by the biological body that these persons are fit to bear arms and be left to be redeployed to other police. So for now, I think the ending SARS campaign is a good one so far, but we demand more. We want a reform of the police force, complete. An evaluation of the SARS office before they could be other units.
All right, thank you very much, Bologi. I can see that you are experiencing difficulty with network around your area. I will bring you up very soon. And I hope that when next I call on you, you will oblige us to your parents.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
And that's been from psychologists and sociologists and professionals. Nigeria Police Force needs total reform. Thank you for joining us. Next week we'll be with you. Safe.